It's my pleasure to introduce Professor Tapan Kumar Gandhi. Dr. Tapan Kumar Gandhi is currently working as Associate Professor in the Department of Electrical Engineering, IIT Delhi, and adjunct faculty in the School of Artificial Intelligence and Data Science, IIT Jodhpur. He is also a research affiliate to MIT USA. He received his PhD fellowship and obtained his PhD in biomedical engineering from IIT Delhi. Following his PhD, he has spent a couple of years as a postdoctoral research scientist at MIT USA. Dr. Gandhi was also awarded an Inspire Faculty in the Engineering and Technology category of the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. During this 5 years tenure, he is awarded as the Excellent Inspire Faculty by Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. His research expertise spans from computational neuroscience, brain imaging, assistive technology, biomedical instrumentation, machine learning, cognitive computing to artificial intelligence. He has published papers in top-ranking journals like Nature, PNAS, Current Biology, PIOS Biology, IEEE Transactions. He has more than 150 publications in national journals and conference proceedings. He is PI and co-PI as nearly Indian rupees 40 crores funded projects from industry as well as Government of India organizations. He has received many awards in India and abroad for his academic excellence and groundbreaking research. His research work is not only published in top-notch journals, but also appeared in many popular presses, including Time magazine, the Boston Globe, New York Times, MIT News, Harvard News, Wall Street Journal, and also in Science magazine. Dr. Gandhi's work was selected as a cover page in Science magazine in 2015. He has delivered many invited talks in national and international universities like MGH, Harvard University, Yale University, MIT. He is one of the international members in European Union joint project on vision sciences and collaborated in many international projects. He has three patents and 3 technology transfer to Ministry of Social Justice, Government of India. He is serving as an expert member in various research committee in Government of India, UNESCO, as well as reviewers in many journals like IEEE, Elsewhere, and Springer, etc. He has also received Platinum Jubilee Young Scientist Award 2015 by National Academy of Science in India and GYTI 2019 Award. Presently, he is the chairperson of Project Prakash Charitable Trust and also helps in restoration of vision and providing education to visually impaired in India. So with this introduction, I would like to hand over the session to Professor Tapan Kumar Gandhi.
Thank you, Dr. Uttam, for inviting me to deliver a talk in your FDP program. And good morning, everyone, to all faculty members from your college and from other colleges, those who are attending my talk, and all other researchers as well as students. So the title of my talk is, I had given the title, the Artificial Intelligence in Healthcare. And again, there I added 2 terms, challenges and opportunity. So always, when we talk about artificial intelligence and healthcare, only we know that we apply artificial intelligence in some healthcare problems. This is what we all know. But here, the beauty of, what I'm going to present you here is, I'll tell you that how you can make it one kind of bidirectional approach, that just doing healthcare, how you can advance the knowledge in artificial intelligence, and how using the knowledge from the artificial intelligence, how you can solve the better healthcare problems. So first of all, here I would like to ask you, because there are some very buzzing words are, always around us: machine learning, data science, AI. Um, so the question is, do we understand the difference, this artificial intelligence or machine learning or deep learning? So here, machine learning, deep learning, these are all statistical or mathematical tool. And when we apply this tool for certain application, and that application is dedicated for certain purpose, then we call this is an AI based agent or AI inspired agent, right? So AI is, I can say, this is the application part of machine learning or deep learning, right? So here, so as I told you that not only I'll talk about the application of artificial intelligence healthcare, but also I'll talk about how doing interesting research in the healthcare, you can answer many big questions in the domain of artificial intelligence. Why? Because let me tell you here, in my screen, you can see I'm showing you some kind of brain. The brain is flushing, right? So actually, we the humans, I mean, what we do, we try to study the intelligence of the nature, whether this is the ant, whether this is a swarm, whether this is human brain, and then we use this principle of intelligence in the machine, or we try to mimic this understanding of intelligence in the machine, and then we call that we are artificially making this machine intelligent. This is called the AI, right? So then the crux of this all story is in the brain. So that's why it's very, very important to understand both the natural intelligence and then artificial intelligence. And brain is part of our health. That's why if we study the brain, if we study the good healthcare, we can answer many big questions of the science and engineering. I'll just highlight some of the big questions. Um, So, yeah. So here, when you talk about the AI, we know that AI is everywhere. If I'll ask you, give me some examples, you can easily tell me that, I mean, Alexa, Sophia, many big, big examples you can give that where people are using AI, right? And what you see here in this, I'm just plussing few of the picture, digital security, e-capsule, smart home, smart car, everywhere we have AI. But interestingly, just a couple of, I mean, in couple of months back, you can see here March 3rd, March 2021. So Wills Douglas 7, what he wrote, the neuroscientist and tech entrepreneur Jeff Hawkins. You know that Jeff Hawkins is one of the pioneer in the domain of artificial intelligence, and he claims that how intelligence work, and he wants every AI lab in the world to know about it. That means if you wish to work in the AI, you need to work on the human brain, right? Then only you can take the lead in this domain. So just like here, I'm giving the example. You know that now many big companies in the world, they're talking about autonomous vehicle. Even you know Tesla, they have already this kind of vehicle. So here you have to tell your driver where you wish to go, right? But truly, if I'll ask you, do you think that these are truly AI based agent or autonomous vehicle? Maybe not, right? Because these are all rule based. Just you imagine how you drive a car in a very crowded street in India. So, in this kind of scenario, if you bring this kind of autonomous vehicle, the most advanced autonomous vehicle in the world, do you think that it will work? My answer is no, it might not work, because we know in Indian context, we people, they hardly follow the rules, right? Even you must have seen that even people drive from the wrong direction, even they don't follow the proper traffic rules. So in this condition, most probably this autonomous vehicle might not work. So my question to all of you is, just imagine, just think how you drive in a crowded street, how your brain take this kind of decision. If you can understand this mechanism, I feel or I hope that most probably that will lead to develop the real kind of autonomous vehicle. And that kind of knowledge, what I'm talking about, is called the cognitive intelligence, which is on the top of artificial intelligence, right? So likewise, face recognition, or you can see that here Barack Obama is shaking hand with the amputee who is completely paralyzed. He cannot control his hand, but using the brain signal, he can shake the hand, the prosthetic hand with Barack Obama. So this is called the neural prosthesis. So again, I mean, this is again one of the application. If I look at the application of the AI also, this is one of the application. The AI is trying to find out the pattern from the brain signal, and then it is trying to understand which signal is for the handshaking or which signal is for holding the glass or taking the food, like this, right? Likewise, here I'm showing you here the person is, I mean, here in the left side, who is wearing the black goggle, he's a blind, and the red color guy, he's a scientist, and they developed the bionic eye. You must have heard about the bionic eye, and this is for the blind, that how the blind can see, right? But here in this picture, in front of this blind person, his wife is standing, and the blind person is feeling very happy, and he's telling that first time in my life I can see my wife. But the truth is something different. Truth is, actually using this bionic eye, he can see only the contour of his wife, not clearly. I mean, only the some black or white patches of things, but not the clearly the way we see. So here, but still the person can see some contour of his wife, and still then just seeing this contour or some dark or white patches, he's excited that I can see my wife, right? But the truth, what I told you, that he cannot see the way we are seeing. The question is why. So here I'm talking about very fundamental things which you all know. Just imagine if I'll place one mobile phone and one laptop in front of you, and I'll ask you which one is laptop and which one is mobile phone. You can easily tell, right? But if you look back, or if you look at the physics, the fundamental physics, what is happening here? Only the range of light is coming from these two objects, entering to your eyes, and then going to the brain, and finally you are seeing laptop and maybe the mobile phone. So here my question is, from this range of light, how my eye or how my brain, they are understanding this thing from the same range of light which is coming from my laptop and which is coming from my phone. So this is what we need to understand, right? That how this range of light is creating the orchestra in our eye and brain, so that we can see the object the way it is, right? That's why one famous scientist said that what we see around us, it does not exist. It only our perception, right? How our brain or how our eye or how our different sensory modalities help us to see this object or feel this object. This is what we do. uh, and if this sensory modality will not help you in perceiving the object in that way, you might not feel or see those objects, right? And this is the real intelligence. So here I'm showing you the picture that from the eye, there is a thread. You can see this is called the optic nerve, and it's going to LGN, lateral geniculate nucleus, and from here, it's lots of fibers are coming out and going to the brain, the back part of the brain. And just from the eye to the back part of the brain, the biology or the neurons, they are doing remarkable job in processing and then creating the orchestra. That's why we are able to see the object we see, right? But here the big question is, do we understand this mechanism, how it's happening? And if we can understand all this mechanism, then not only we can advance the domain of medical science, but at the same time we can take a big lead in the domain of artificial intelligence. So here I'm just asking big question. This is understanding mechanism of intelligence. What I'm talking about here, that the person is holding the mobile phone, and when he's holding the mobile phone, how he feels or how he see what he's touching, right? And this is called the cross model mapping. We humans are intelligent because our all sensory modalities, they cross talk to each other. Just like when you are talking to your parent, let's say your parent is 100 miles from what you are staying and you are calling over phone, and when you are talking to your parent, though you can hear your parent's voice, but in the same time you can visualize your parent's face. So the question is, I mean, here the cross-modal mapping is from the auditory to the visual. Though your parents are not in front of you, but still you can visualize your parents' face, right? And just hearing their voice. So this is called from the auditory to visual mapping. And we humans are very good in our all sensory model mapping. Whatever we are holding, we can feel in our eye, right? So this is what we don't know. And if we can understand this kind of mechanism, we can advance the domain of AI. uh, so here I'm not showing you all these examples. So here you know this deep neural network, which is one of the sophisticated modalities, right, or the sophisticated model in the domain of AI. And you know that when we have the ANN, everybody are thinking that, let's say if I know ANN, I was feeling that, oh, I know everything in AI. But now ANN is in the history, right? Because when people are doing more research on the human brain, and they found in the human brain the neurons are layered in different layers. I mean, they organize all this orchestra in a very layering fashion. Some of the neurons are dedicated for the edges, some of the neurons for the color, some of the neurons for the shape, something like that. And they found that this is how the brain process. I mean, though this is not the complete 100% the clear concept, but whatever until now people understood, and based on that they developed this deep neural network, and they feel that this is the best network. But I feel that down the timeline, in maybe 2 years or 3 years, this would be obsolete from the market, because the name itself says the deep neural. Deep neural means it never knows how deep it is. Let's say if you are applying for some of your application, whether the medical data, whether it's other kind of data, but it's one kind of tuning kind of things, that some might take 9, some might take 10, and you never know. If you ask some expert in AI that ask him that for this application, how many layers I'll select, you will not get the tentative answer because you don't know that how many layers it would be. So you have to just do some kind of hit and trial and find out or optimize your model, right? So likewise, there are some other problems. If I'll ask you in the healthcare, which are the most devastating problem? So during this COVID time, definitely COVID is a big problem, but actually this is not a big problem. So the bigger problems are the problem which are related to your neurons or nervous system. One of the disease is called the autism. Uh, you'll be surprised to know 1 out of 70 Indians are affected with this kind of problem. You know Alzheimer's, you know Parkinson's, you know epilepsy, you know cerebral palsy. So these are the problems where there is no medication, no solution. People are doing research in this area hundred of years, but still there is no clue that to what kind of medication can cure this kind of things. And these are called neurodevelopmental problem, right? And the big problem, another big problem, I'll tell you, which is going to come in recent future. This is called epilepsy. You know, epilepsy is again another kind of problem, healthcare problem. So this is a recurrent seizures happen in the brain, and the person will lose consciousness and fell down. And due to this kind of problem, many people also die, and also their personal or their life is one kind of not they cannot lead a good life just like we do as a normal person. So the question is, you must be thinking, then why people go when the people are suffering with this kind of problem? Then when they go to the doctors, then what kind of medicine the doctor give? Yes, it's true the doctor gives some medication or advise something, but this is not to completely. I mean, they don't give the medicine that you take this medicine and you will get cured. They give this medicine to suppress some of the underpinning causes, right? So just using this kind of problem. So here, let's say if I'll talk about the epilepsy, these are the some snapshots of the research which is happening in my lab at IIT Delhi. So the big question is, can we diagnose epilepsy in a very big good way? So here, you know, epilepsy being diagnosed from the brain signal, and when you collect the brain signal, we put many sensors, maybe 32, 64, or 128 number of sensors, and each sensor gives some kind of signal. And brain signal is one of the most complicated signal out of all biosignal. So what the doctor do, the for the diagnosis, they look at visually the signal, and from the visual analysis, from the pattern, they tell whether this person is having epilepsy or not, and from which part of the brain it's coming, right? And which is mostly erroneous, because let's say if I'll ask a doctor to look at the signal for 24 hours recording signal, do you think that a human being can do it? No, they will get bored, right? And also human brain is, they don't like this kind of repetition kind of job, to do this thing from morning to evening. And here, as the doctors, they do manually, they commit lots of mistake. At the same time, this is a domain, let's say neurophysicist, or these are very less number of people are there in India. So for expert advice, if one doctor will take one person's data to look at throughout the day, then how many subjects they can see? So that's why here you need the application of AI. So from this brain signal, can you develop a model which can tell the doctor, look at this position and see, it looks like a seizure kind of pattern, and the doctor can go and look at that position, and then they can say, yes, from this area the seizure is coming. So it will help them for the speedy diagnosis. So if they will do manually by themselves, it might take 24 hours, but if they will take the help of AI, it might happen in 1 second, right? So one is called the diagnosis, another is called prediction. Prediction means, epilepsy just like the earthquake of the human brain. It does not tell you when it will come, right? Let's say if you are having this kind of problem and you are driving, and let's say all of a sudden if it will come and you don't know and you lose your consciousness, then you will meet an accident and you might lose your life, right? So the question is, can we develop some kind of AI model which can tell in advance before 10 minutes that yes, the seizure is going to come, and please take rest, so that you can stop your car or your vehicle and you can take rest, so that you can avoid accident, right? So these are some of the pictures. You can see how, we are using some kind of AI algorithm or this machine learning model to detect, to diagnose, as well as for the prediction kind of this kind of problem. So this is another of my research. So first time, so actually we got a huge amount of data from Niemann's Bangalore. Those who are having epilepsy, okay. So from the brain image, can we tell the epilepsy network? So we use again the artificial intelligence kind of model to find out this network, and this was the first kind of model we proposed, and that's why it was a big highlight in both of the Indian different kind of newspaper like Hindu and also in abroad. So this is the some snapshots of the brain image I'm showing you here. So that's why the title it's given that artificial intelligence can help decode epileptic brain. uh, so likewise, so in order to take the lead both in understanding the biology or the healthcare as well as in advancing the artificial intelligence, as I told you, you need to work on the brain. And in the brain, the most intelligent things in the brain are these five sensory modalities. You can see here: smell, taste, touch, vision, hearing. And the question is, can we understand the mechanism, how they do all these beautiful things? And in the same time, here I've written rewriting and reformatting. That means, is it possible to rewrite and reformat in the brain domain? In the computer domain, let's say I'm paralyzed. If I'm paralyzed, let's say I'm not able to move my right hand. So that means the left part of my brain is damaged somewhere. So the question is, if the left part of the brain is controlling my right hand and it's damaged, so can I transfer that job from this left part of the brain to some other part, right? And I can regain my function. This is coming under the domain of called the brain plasticity. So likewise, let's say if somebody born blind, right? What will happen to this visual cortex, the backside, the violet color of the part? Okay. If somebody is born amputee, no leg, then what will happen to the motor cortex? If somebody is born deaf, then what will happen to this auditory cortex? So these are very big questions in the science. And let's say when somebody born deaf, but now he is hearing with some kind of aid, let's say hearing aid, then what will again happen to this domain? If somebody born blind, then again he starts seeing this world using this bionic eye, then what will happen to this visual cortex? Because please remember, biology, they don't sit idle. That means if somebody born blind, it does not mean that the visual cortex, which is helping for the vision, is completely dormant or not, was not using anything. But maybe that part may be being used for the tactile or auditory purpose. But the question comes that if somebody regain the sight, then what will happen? How the neurons will reorganize again to do this function? So these are all big questions of the science which is not answered completely. So here, that's why I told you that just applying different kind of techniques like machine learning, AI techniques, you can answer many of the beautiful questions of the science. And the same time, the way you will understand the brain, and accordingly, it will help you to develop the right kind of AI model. Just like deep learning is one model, NN is one model, and these are all inspired from the brain. And most probably, if you understand more about the brain, you can develop the new kind of algorithm, right? So I'm not talking about all these things. So here just I want to highlight three important things: that how you can understand the brain. To understand the brain, you need to work on three kinds of brain. One is the normal brain functioning, that how a normal brain function. Second is how the brain develops, that means after the childbirth, how the brain is developing. And third is what happens to the brain when the brain is having some kind of disorders or the problems. So if you'll work on three kinds of brain, most probably you can answer some of the question of the science, and at the same time, not only you will advance the medical science, but also will help in taking the lead in the domain of AI. So here I've written defining a big goal. So to understand this kind of problem, so in my lab at IIT Delhi, we apply this AI technique in different way. We do different kind of healthcare projects, and many interesting projects are going on in my lab, where we are using this kind of this AI techniques in developing some low cost healthcare gadgets. But at the same time, we do many fundamental research to understand the human brain. So that's why, for the sake of, because out of all my projects, I have one project which is very close to my heart. This is what I'm going to talk in today's meeting. So here I've just written defining a big goal. I'm not going to details that some other stuff. So one of the stuff is one of the projects that's why I'm telling you on the blindness. So my lab is involved with a big project with MIT USA. So where we treat the blindness in India, and then we try to understand the human brain. So as I told you that that like, I mean, blindness, if you see the blindness in India, 1 in every 100 Indians is blind. So whatever the blind population you see in India, this is nearly 50% of the blind population of the whole world. That means 50% of the whole blind population that lives in India. And these are the causes for the blindness: corneal scarring, cataract, retinal dystrophies, infections, congenital rubella syndrome. So, this corneal scarring means if there is an injury in the cornea. Cataract means you must have heard about the old age cataract. But if the child will also take birth having cataract, also they will be blind. Infection, that our mothers, they give birth, they deliver the baby in the home setting in the villages, you have seen, and many of our Indians, they live in the villages. Even the dispensary are also not properly sanitized. That's why there is a high chance of infections, and that also leads to the blindness. For last one, the congenital rubella syndrome. So all the mothers, when they're pregnant, they should take some kind of rubella vaccines. And if they're not vaccinated, then there is a high chance of the child being born with the blind. So due to all this problem, India has the highest number of blindness. But interestingly, out of all this blindness, nearly 40% blindness, childhood blindness, can either be preventable or treatable. But however, due to the never treatment, and due to the lack of proper infrastructure or the knowledge, we are not able to provide the treatment. So when the child born blind, mostly this blind child, I mean, their lifespan also reduces. That means the child born blind is having 15 years less life than the normal counterpart. Even 50% of the child, those who born blind, they don't get a chance to see their second birthday. They die. And when the child is born, definitely the education prospect is also very less, and employment is also very less. That's why India is losing around 10 billion US dollar every year. This is a big loss to the country like India. So here the pressing humanitarian need is providing treatment to curable blind children. That if we know that if we can cure some blindness, we should do that. So here you can see one child who is having dense cataract, and since birth he is blind. So the question is it possible to restore sight to this blind? Um, so you can see here another child who is also very dense cataract. So, so here the big question is, you must be thinking that why we are interested in this kind of project, or why you are interested to do this kind of things. There are two things. Let's say if in the artificial intelligence, that another domain is called the computer vision. Let's say when I'm giving the knowledge of vision to my computer, what I'll do, I'll ask or I'll design the machine in such a way so that it can recognize the things, objects, and everything, right? So when we give this knowledge, the first question should come to our mind that as a human being, do we know how we learn to see, right? And the answer is no, we don't know, right? And 15 years back, this question also came to our mind, that let's say today I'll come up with some kind of algorithm, computer vision algorithm, and tomorrow somebody else will come, then somebody else will tell that my algorithm is better than yours. Then, I mean, this is how the computational world is moving, right? But we ask one question to ourselves. So, do we know as a human being how we learn to see? And we found there is no research. Why? Because in order to do this kind of research, you have to study on a newly born baby. But the it's very difficult to study a newly born baby because for two accounts. One is the newly born baby. If you do some research on a newly born baby, they will. I mean, you will not get the good data because they don't understand what you're going to do. Second is the ethical committee will not allow you to do this kind of research because they are baby, right? That's why there is no data on this issue. So we thought that is there any chance to do this kind of research? Um, then we thought that, okay, let's say if somebody born blind has not seen anything since birth, and now he's 20 years old, and let's say by miracle we restore sight to him, and now he's 20 years old, and now we restore the sight, and then now he's an adult, and definitely he will understand what we are going to do, and the ethical committee will not stop us doing the research. And in that way we can understand, after we when we restore the sight to this blind person, that how he is seeing this world. If we do the research at that time, most probably we can answer some of the questions, right? But interestingly, when we came across different articles, we found many articles of these two gentlemen. They are the Nobel laureate. They got Nobel Prize in 1981, David Hubel and Torsten Husserl. And they gave a very interesting hypothesis to the medical science. It's called the critical period hypothesis. Critical period hypothesis means the past few months or past few years are very important for our life. So can you please hear me? Hello? I need to
Yes,
ask you. Okay. So you can understand and you can follow me, right?
yes, sir.
Please stop me if you can understand. See, otherwise, if you will not understand, I'll feel that my time is completely waste, right? If you'll understand something, then I'll be very happy, right? Okay, so critical period means the past few months or past few years in everybody's life is very important in the development of sensory modality. Let me give a very simple example. Let's say today I took birth. After my birth, you put me in a dark room, right? And in the dark room, you provided me food, drink, everything, but only I was not allowed to see. And after 20 days, you will bring me from the dark room to the lighted part of this world. And what you will see, by the time I'll lose my all ability to see this world. That means my neurons are actually the neurons after the birth, the neurons are very fuzzy in nature and slowly they get specialized for some purpose. Some neurons will be specialized for vision, some will be for audition, like this. So, and this happens with all modalities. And these two gentlemen did many studies on the animal and they told, yes, this is happening on the animals. And they found that this the past few months or past few days are very important in everybody's life for the development of all these modalities. So if somebody is deprived of this kind of thing, let's say if the blind is born blind and not seen anything, let's say 5 years, past 5 years, then there is no chance that the neuron will learn again, right? But we thought, okay, this is a very big thing. And when we proposed this kind of idea that we can work on the blindness, the whole world was against us. Whole world. I'm not talking about Delhi or UP or not India. The whole world. They're talking. How come you can think that you can restore sight to the blind, right? Because one clue was there from where we thought that this might lead us to some kind of big thing. And the crux was that these two scientists did all the study on the animal. They have not done any study on the human. So we thought, what about humans? Whether the brain of the human and the neuron, I mean the animals, they learn in the similar way. And we started one project, um, a humanitarian scientific project. Um, it's called Project Prakash, and Project Prakash is the meaning of Prakash means light, to bring light in the lives of blind. That's why I call Project Prakash, and this is headquartered in New Delhi. And presently, I am leading this trust. So in this trust, what we do, and it started by one very famous professor from MIT, with whom I did my PhD. So he and me, we continue this research. So basically, what we do, we have a big team. They used to go to different parts of India, from Rajasthan, UP, Haryana, Madhya Pradesh, all this region they used to go, and they screen all the children, and to whom we feel that we can restore the sight to them, we bring them to Delhi for the treatment. And here we do some kind of very minimal surgery kind of things, and then we do research to understand how vision develops. But the big question is whether vision develops after sight onset. And you can see here in this picture, this 21-year-old person, he's from UP. Um, so here you can see here two pictures I'm showing you, one 8 years and another is 22 years. So here, is the brain plastic enough? Plastic means the ability to change. See whether the brain can again change and see this visual world, right? And according to this critical period, this two person, one is 8 years and 22 years, they've already passed this critical period, this timeline. So the question is whether they can see or not. So we do many different kind of experiment to understand the brain, that how the brain is learning or doing all this thing. We do functional brain imaging. You must have heard about the MRI. So we put this subject inside the scanner and we take thousands of brain images and we process the brain images and find out the pattern out of it. And we apply different kind of signal processing technique, machine learning technique to find out the pattern, that how the brain is behaving, right? So this is one of the study. I don't like to spend more time here, just to highlight you. I mean, in the layman language, I'm telling you, not taking you to the core of this kind of image processing. So after getting, you can see here, these are the brain pictures, and you can see here some colors, the blue color, yellow color, red color, right? And you can see here, all these color patches are in different parts of the brain. But the beauty is, if I'll take a time series signal from any of this blue part, they will be highly correlated. If I'll take some of the signal from this red or yellow, they will be highly correlated. So इसका मतलब ये है कि when even if the zones are present in different parts of the brain, but still they are functionally connected, right? And this is a very beautiful aspect of the brain science or brain imaging. Just using this kind of principle, you can answer many interesting questions of the brain science. So we do, we collected like this many brain images, and from there we took the signal from each and every voxel, and then this is I'm just showing in a nutshell 21 years old brain image. So in x-axis you can see some timeline t minus 2, t plus 7, t plus 30, t plus 120. That means t minus 2 is 2 days before surgery. That means when the person came as a blind person to us, right? And at t equal to 0, we operated that person, we rectified the eye, and then t plus 7 is after 7 days of sight onset. So now he can see, right? Then after 30 days, this is the brain, and after 120 days, this is how the brain looks like. What does it mean? What it says? So in the first picture, t minus 2, when the person is blind, you can see only two hot spots. This yellow color, yellow red color, the only two big spot. After 7 days also, the spot are a little bit bigger or maybe a similar kind of shape. And after 30 days, it is becoming smaller. And after 120 days, you can see there are small fragmented shapes or fragmented islands, right? So what does it mean? It means at t minus 2, all the neurons are either on or off. So if you are from electronics or computer science background, you know, let's say if I'll talk about 2-bit system, let's say if I have a 2-bit system, and if I'll ask you how many way they can encode information. So here the answer would be in 2 way. How? So if my 2 bits are dependent on each other, or I can say if my 2 bits are independent in nature. So if they are dependent, then they will encode only 2 way of information, 00 or 11. If they are independent, then they will encode in 4 way, 00, 01, 10, and 11, right? So that means when the bits are getting independent, they are encoding more information. So likewise, here what we found, that along the timelines, initially the neurons are either firing or not firing. But slowly what we found, when they're making more island, that means the neurons are getting more independent. That means the brain is encoding more information, right? That means the person can see. Um, so we found from all this subject, all the brains are following the similar kind of pattern. So there is a very interesting hypothesis by Horst Barlow. Horst Barlow is the great grandson of Charles Darwin, and he is a professor emeritus in Cambridge University, UK. So 30, 40 years back, he proposed a very interesting hypothesis that how brain encode information. But there is no practical evidence. And first time we provided the practical evidence of how the brain encode the information. And in that way, we try to learn that how brain is learning. So here I'm showing you through our work, we restored sight to more than 700 blinds in India, those who are blind, but now they can see the way you see. You can see they are the some subsets of these children to whom we restored sight, but at the same time, just restoring sight and doing research, we are able to provide many interesting hypotheses to the medical science. At the same time, these children are also helping us to advance the domain of AI. Um, so here I'm just for the sake of time, I'll just give you one or two examples. Actually, I have some other meeting lined up. That's why I'll just finish in next half an hour. So here one thing is multimodal information linkage, what I mentioned to you about one of the important ability of the artificial intelligence, right? So here, as I said you, that when the robot is holding this mobile phone, so here I'm asking, besides giving us evidence that the brain can change, our results have also yielded clues about the development of important perceptual ability and how they can be modeled in machine-based system, right? So here, this is the question I ask you: how do we predict the visual appearance of an object based on how it feels to the touch? Is this mapping innate or does it to be learned, right? So that means here, I'm just talking about a very important hypothesis, which is the very fundamental of science and engineering, nature or nurture. So when we program some system, when we are making our AI system, right? So whether this AI system, I mean, just like you know that we are the most natural AI, natural intelligent system, right? So the question is whether we are born with all this ability, or we are born with just like a blank slate and then we learn through our experience, or we are born with some concept and then we develop all this concept with experience. So these are very important questions of the science, and based on that, we can advance in the domain of AI, right? So please remember what I'm doing. I'm just switching from healthcare to artificial intelligence and artificial intelligence to the healthcare. And always the things should go like this, right? And then only you can take the lead in both the domains. So there is a very interesting question. So he is a very famous scientist in 16th century. So he wrote a letter to this gentleman, this John Locke, and he wrote a very interesting letter. इन्होंने ये लिखा, suppose a man born blind and taught by his touch to distinguish between a cube and sphere. You just read it, what I'm showing you, and let me put in my own word. Let's say today I'm born blind, and today also I'm blind, and you came to me and you gave me two objects. One is sphere, another is cube, and you asked me just touch these two objects, and you told me ki the name of this object is sphere and the name of that object is cube. Okay, so today I learned by touch because I cannot see today. Let's say tomorrow by miracle I can get back my sight. That means I can see. And if you'll put these two objects in front of me and you'll ask me, tell me which one is what without touching. So just looking at these two objects, can I give the answer? What do you think? I'm asking you, what do you think? Whether I can give this answer or not? Hello? Did you follow my question?
Yes, sir.
Whether it's possible or not?
Yes,
No?
this is possible, sir. Possible.
Okay, so last 300 years, many scientists try to solve this problem, and they publish paper in Nature or Science. You know, Nature Science, the top no journal. But again, the answer was not clear. So we did, and this problem is a very interesting problem, and this is a problem cited in Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, and they mentioned this is one of the most important problem in the domain of science, and this is the crux of artificial intelligence. So finally, we did some very simple experiment. I'm not going into details of the experiment, very simple experiment. And we found the result is what we found that the newly sighted, I mean, those who have not seen earlier, but now when they can see, they are not able to transfer this ability. I mean, what they know by touch when they are blind, and when they see, that time, just looking at these two objects, they are not able to distinguish, right? And but interestingly, what we found, uh, the summary is there does not appear to be an immediate transfer from touch to vision after sight onset, but the ability to transfer is acquired rapidly. That means after the sight onset, when you restore the sight, they are not able to do this job, but within 7 days they can learn this ability, right? Um, so here the open question was, what kinds of mechanism might account for such rapid learning? So how, I mean, they could not tell in 1 day, but in 7 days they can learn this ability. What kind of mechanism? And it is a very huge application in the domain of AI. I'll come to that point later. Let me give another example. Um, so okay, here I'm giving you two names and two object. I'm showing you two object and two names, Maluma and Takiti. So can you please tell me which one is Maluma, which one is Takiti? I'm asking you, the audience. Which one is Maluma, which one is Takiti? Any answer? Okay, maybe you are muted. Okay. So this is a very interesting problem in computer science. So if you type in the Google Malum Takiti problem, you will get many literature. So most of the researchers says that left one is Takiti, right one is Maluma. So maybe if those who are thinking that yes, this is what I was thinking, maybe like this, the answer is your brain. I mean, though I didn't tell you which one is Maluma, which one is Takiti, but your brain is somehow able to establish uh, that based on the shape, ki maybe this is looks like smoother, that's why this is Maluma, and this is left one is thoda zigzag, then that's why it's Takiti. So here, this is the question I ask you: when the person is holding or the child is holding the mobile phone, we are getting some kind of haptic features like H0 to HN. These are called the time domain signal. And at the same time, we are also getting some kind of visual features, V0 to VN, right? And then the brain, what the brain is doing, the brain is somehow establishing a map between this visual to auditory, visual to haptic, right? And this is how we are able to tell or able to feel how it looks like in another modality. So, to understand this mechanism more, what I did, I conducted a very simple experiment. And the experiment was that when the news reader, you can see here every day, you can see in your news channel, when you or anything is happening in the television, you feel that the voice is coming from the mouth of the speaker. But actually, the voice comes from the speaker, which are placed at the side of the television, right? Always the speaker, always आपने देखा होगा ना टेलीविजन के पीछे या साइड में स्पीकर होता है. But you feel that the voice is coming from the mouth of the speaker. So the question is, why we feel that the voice is coming from the mouth of the speaker. So, to understand this mechanism, what I did, I recorded the voice signal and I tried to collect all the visual signal. Visual signal means, let's say, I took my whole screen of my television as my complete sensor space and I divided into 1000 grid. And each grid I treated as my visual sensor. And I recorded that how each part of this television screen or the part of this human body is moving with respect to time, right? So what I did, I just collected the signal like this. Let's say the top one is my auditory signal. I took the envelope, the red color is the envelope, and let's say the yellow encircled region. If I'll observe this region when the news person is reading the news, I can create this kind of time domain signal. Likewise, if I'll take three different sensors, I can create this three different signal. And likewise, as I told you, I have taken 1000 sensor, visual sensors like this. So I'll get 1000 signal. So finally, what I'll do, if I'll apply the correlation with this 1000 signal with this auditory signal, the red color signal, what I found, I created the picture like this. So in this picture, you can see the red color related to the higher correlation, right? Higher correlation, and the cool color is for the lower correlation. That means as I'm getting higher correlation around the mouth, that's why I feel that the voice is coming from the mouth, right? I hope it's understandable. So looking to this picture, you can, if you are from computer science background, you know the lookup table, how you create the lookup table. So from this kind of analysis, you can create a lookup table like this. For the mouth confusion 1, you can have sound confusion 1. For mouth confusion 2, you can have sound confusion 2. Likewise, you can create a lookup table. And at the end, if somebody will give you that for this mouth configuration, what would be the sound? And you can easily find it out that for mouth configuration N, what would be the sound configuration, right? So, so here the question which I asked earlier, how is the cross-modal mapping established? So here the dynamics of the environment may play a key role. What does it mean? It means that when you are making a autonomous system or a smart system or an AI system, you need not to give the knowledge at the outset. You have to give only basic knowledge and you have to force your system to learn by its own. And in that way, your system or your machine or your model will be much more intelligent. So this is a crux kind of things I told you about the domain of AI, that how you can make your AI more advanced. And this is, I mean, only two examples I gave you, but we are doing many, 30, 40 different experiments we have where we prove this kind of concepts, that how you can advance this domain of machine learning or the AI using this biological data. And in the same time, just the way I told you, we apply this kind of machine learning algorithm to create the different kind of AI applications out of it, right? So that's why, as I told you, the goal should be very big. So as I mentioned to you, just don't focus on that how you can apply this AI in solving healthcare, but also look at from the other direction too. And in that way, you can do wonders in your domain. So as I told you, that when we publish that paper in Nature, that Molnick's query about that haptic and which I talking about. So that day when we published in Nature, it appeared in the front page of the New York Times, and they said that the first time in Indian blinds they could answer this big question of the science. And we have many other research in the domain of AI and face recognition. And when he appeared, then also it got published in the Hindu. Also, the same kind of research also got published in the Wall Street Journal. You can see here in Science. Science is the top-notch journal in the world, and we got the cover page of the Science magazine about our work. And also, this is the snapshot of uh, from my lab at IIT Delhi. So my students are working on this kit, and today I'm giving a talk to the people in Pune, and he's a student from my lab. He's from Maharashtra, the left side boy who is with the syringe. Um, so the Geo magazine, which is one of the very top-notch magazine in Germany, they came to cover the story from our lab that how we are trying to understand the intelligence of the human brain and different aspects of the brain, which is helping both the medical science and artificial intelligence. Also, we have some articles in Nature, Times Magazine, as well as many of our articles are published in Harvard, MIT News. Also, this is the snapshot from the Netflix. Netflix is also covering some of the research work from my lab at IIT Delhi. This is the snapshots. Um, so finally, I would like to tell you, those who have the privilege to know have the duty to act. This is what Albert Einstein said. That means when we know that somebody is blind and we can restore the sight to him, then we need to do it. So you can see the difference of the facial expression of a child when he was blind and when he can see, right? And in that way, you can have a big impact on your society. This is a charitable trust I'm leading in Delhi, where we raise the funding to restore sight to the children, and then after they get back their sight, we try to educate them. We provide education, and then finally, so that they can get good job. And we try to get this raise the fund through some kind of donations from the people. So even you can help in here if you wish to in this kind of big mission. So in that way, you can have a broader impact on your society. Not only you can advance the society, or you can contribute to your society directly, but at the same time you can advance the fundamental knowledge in the science. And the same time you can advance uh, various engineering applications, as I said. Thank you. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Good afternoon, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are audible.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So you said that machine learning and deep learning, they are mostly the statistical tools or
Yes,
the rule based.
these are
So
all
when
statistical mathematical model based tool. Yeah.
okay,
Eh,
so when we talk about actually AI,
uh,
so what exactly are we doing? That was something which was not very clear. So,
right, madam. So, madam, the fundamental things is, let's say, actually, mostly I ask this question that have you seen an AI? Definitely, I get many answer that yes, we have seen AI. But I feel that I have not seen any AI, and even in next 10 years, I won't be able to see any AI. But as a fancy term, we are using this everywhere. So, basically, let's say, if I'll give you a very new problem you have not experienced in your life, and I'll tell, oh, this is a new situation. Tell me what would be how you'll handle it. What you'll do based on your previous experience, based on the present situation, and based on the future expectation, you will tell some probable way how to solve it, right? As a human being. But do you think that the machine can do it? You must have seen the Alexa at your home or maybe in some places, right? Just do some kind of crazy things with Alexa. Alexa will get confused and randomly give you some answer, right? So which and the human will not do. So this is the difference between true intelligence and artificial intelligence. So that's why it's very important to understand this. I mean the thinner line between these two domains. So now what we are doing, we are just giving some kind of knowledge to our machine or to our model, so that that will only do that job, right? Just like Alexa can only do one job, not everything, right? So that's why these are called restricted AI. They are restricted for that kind of application. I hope you understood.
yes, sir. Till now, I was just I was really actually connecting, like, we are booking some sort of tickets to some holiday destination. Then immediately in the side on the Internet Explorer or Google, we get the ads of taxi ads of hotels.
Right.
So that was something which I was done. But this is restricted AI.
Yeah, this is again restricted because these
Okay.
are all trained. Because if the person is visiting, maybe might have searched those things earlier, so they keep on tracking that which you have already visited. Maybe you are interested in those domain. That's why when you are searching something, also all this thing will pop up in front of you, right? So these are, they are trained only for those things.
Right, right. Okay, okay. If I want to apply AI somewhere in, some designing of the workstation or like that, so how exactly can I really put into that? Something which is comfortable, which does not give me long-term health implications. If I want to think on that front, then how can I apply AI to that?
No, I could not understand your question. So you want to apply AI in designing what?
Designing the workstation, like suppose if I am a person who is a software professional and I'm sitting for 12 to 14 hours on my place, okay.
Ah,
Then I require that the way in which my place is designed should be such that I should sit in a proper posture for a day so that long term health implications are not there. So,
okay. So this kind of question, see, basically, first of all, let's say you have to talk to some expert that which are the best posture, right? Or maybe based on that, you have to collect some data, and
mhm,
or which because AI here is basically we are teaching our machine how to behave or how to do it, right? So here that's
mhm,
why we need some expert guidance. These are the posture. People sit like this, and
mhm,
then you can say this is a healthy posture. And with that, people collect the data with different kind of humans, or maybe let's say different gender, different age group, and then train your system, and then that will guide your AI system. Then you can create a model, and let's say when you are applying that model, this would be one kind of, let's say, computer vision based, and it will see you and tell you, no, this is not the right posture. Maybe you have to stretch your leg in this way, or you have to keep your spinal cord in this way. So this is how
mhm.
you can make it. Yeah.
Right, right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Okay. I don't think there is any other questions.
Professor Tapan, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Yeah, you are doing very nice work for restoring the vision of blind people. Uh, what do you think the success rate of restoring vision, sir?
So yeah, we have already, restored only one or two people to whom we could not restore, but
Oh,
otherwise our success rate is very, very high. So basically, we are just working on the congenital cataract blind, those who have been cataract, and those who have connection between eye and brain. So if again, the blindness is of many kinds, but due to the cataract, nearly 40% blindness are there. So we are working on that part only, not all blinds. So
okay,
many kinds of blindness are there where there is no connection between eye and brain, and that cannot be done now. So we are just working those who have connection from the eye and brain, and
great.
then we are studying that how the vision is developing.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I think audience they don't have any question. Professor Tapan, we are really grateful to you for delivering a session in this particular FTP. It was very, very informative, and you have given a clear idea about how artificial intelligence has evolved over the period of time, and how the people have misconception about AI as well, right? So thank you very much. Definitely, a participant will be beneficial from your session, sir. Thank you very much,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you.